cousin, is the company looking for a secretary? I'm your own cousin, just give me a net 10,000 a month. Is that not good enough for you? At the family gathering, my cousin Blake solemnly guilt-tripped me, then made snide remarks, mocking my womanizing and cosmetic procedures. He'd been laid off in a massive downsizing the year before and had long been eyeing a position at my wife's company. In the past, I might have been soft-hearted enough to agree, even tolerating his slander. But this time, I had been reborn. I sneered, looking for a secretary. You, who didn't even graduate high school, are you even qualified? A net 10,000 a month. The local barbershop is perfect for you. At my words, Blake first froze, then his face flushed red. He whined pitifully, Ethan, I just saw that your wife's company couldn't find anyone, and I came out of kindness to help you solve your problem. How could you say that to me? Aunt also frowned, her voice filled with reproach. Ethan, your aunt was so good to you before. I never thought you'd be such an ungrateful wretch. You've truly broken my heart. I glared resentfully at Blake, wishing I could tear him apart. In my previous life, out of consideration for our family ties, I had agreed to Blake's request, and let him become my wife's secretary. But he abused those family ties, behaving recklessly at the company. He not only embezzled company funds to buy luxury goods, but also committed business fraud in my name. After the truth came out, I became the target of everyone's scorn, and ultimately died by suicide due to depression. My thoughts snapped back. I kicked the stool in front of me and said unceremoniously, with your qualifications, you aren't qualified enough to be my wife's secretary. You'd be better off getting a factory job sooner rather than later. Ethan. Blake abruptly stood up, pointing at me and yelling, I'm your own cousin. How can you not help me? I merely found it amusing. I retorted, didn't you say you were helping me at first? How is it now that I'm not helping you ? Blake was speechless, stammering for a long time, unable to utter a word. Seeing this, the other elder relatives began to scold me. Ethan, how can you say that? Your cousin has always been well behaved in our small town. I think this job suits him perfectly. Exactly. You are not jealous of your cousin's good looks, are you? Worried he'll steal your thunder? Blake is a good kid. I watched him grow up. He's a reliable person. Listening to these comments, I felt utterly disheartened. I asked myself honestly, after marrying Sophia and moving out of the city all those years ago, I hadn't treated them badly either. During holidays and family gatherings, out of respect for my deceased parents, I always sent them generous cash gifts to show my respect and care for elders, and occasionally invited them to our home for dinner. But why? Today, I clearly had no obligation to do this, yet they were helping Blake guilt-trip me. Was it just because Blake's grandfather was mayor? To ingratiate themselves with his family. I put down my plates and cutlery and said coldly, is that so? If he's so good, then why don't you give him your jobs? Everyone listening, their faces turned ashen. Just then, my wife Sophia returned from work. Blake, seeing this, subtly showed off the luxury watch on his wrist, and sidled up to her. Sophia, didn't you promise me on the phone that I could be your secretary? Why is Ethan disagreeing now? Sophia looked at me, bewildered, then after a moment, asked, honey, what's going on? I thought you agreed to, after all, he's your so, I interrupted her without hesitation, I don't agree. Hearing that, Sophia quickly pulled her hand away from Blake. I'll listen to my husband. Since he doesn't agree, then never mind. Aunt's face was ashen, and she said sarcastically, says she's a CEO, but at home, she's still afraid of her husband. What a pity, her husband's still incompetent. Sophia was about to retort when I spoke first. Aunt, if your family is so capable, how come I don't see you doing so well? Oh, and by the way, Uncle isn't a husband who lives with his wife's family, implying dependence, is he? How come I heard he gambled away a mountain of debt, and now he's nowhere to be found? Aunt, enraged and humiliated, slammed the cup in her hand to the floor. Ethan, I only came out of kindness to check on you, because your parents died young. Do you really think I wanted to come? If you hadn't gotten lucky and married Sophia, that wealthy heiress, you'd definitely be living far worse than my Blake. Hearing this, everyone nodded thoughtfully. Exactly. Became the wealthy heiress live-in husband, and now he's too big for his britches, doesn't know gratitude or respect and care for elders anymore. Not helping his own cousin with a small favor. It's unforgivable. The wealthy heiress live-in husband. Why did so many people think Sophia was some wealthy heiress? Did they truly not know that Sophia owed everything she had today to me? Seeing my displeasure, Sophia's face also fell. My husband always makes the final decision on the company's hiring standards. This matter ends here. If we are not hiring, then we are not hiring. Blake glared at me defiantly, putting on a nonchalant air, and asked affectedly, what standards? Everything he knows. I know. I know so much more. With that, he deliberately tugged at his collar, traced a circle on Sophia's hair with his finger, kept his gaze fixed on Sophia, and his tone became increasingly suggestive. Sophia, how will you know I can't do it if you don't try? Blake's intentions were clear to everyone. I just hadn't expected that in this life. Even though he failed to get a secretary position at Sophia's company, he'd actually set his sights on seducing Sophia. Flirting so brazenly with someone from such a humble background, right in front of me, he certainly had some nerve. I wasn't annoyed. I just leaned back in the chair and sneered, "Cousin, if you want to make a quick buck, go to a barbershop. This is my home, not a place for your flirting." Sophia, seeing this, rubbed her temples. My company really isn't hiring anyone, so just go home. To my surprise, Blake's eyes suddenly welled up with tears, and his voice trembled. I was only fired because my previous boss was jealous of my good looks. Especially during the holidays, suddenly losing my job made me anxious, which is why I came to beg you. Aunt grabbed Blake's hand, her face full of sympathy, and didn't forget to give me a sarcastic glance. Our has always been handsome since he was little. It's perfectly normal for some people to be jealous. It just shows how insecure they are. I was so angry I almost laughed. You keep saying I'm jealous of you, but isn't it clearly you who came begging me today? I was extremely annoyed. I stood up and said to everyone, "That's enough for today. I'm done here." The other elder relatives mumbled, some picking up their takeout boxes and starting to pack, while others, in a fit of rage, slammed their chopsticks on the floor. This is outrageous. Ethan's father raised such an ungrateful wretch. He has no respect for elders. It must be because Ethan's father died young that he lacked proper upbringing. I trembled with rage, pointing at the person who spoke and yelling, "Is that so? Then from now on, during holidays and family gatherings, I won't send you any more gifts. You can just consider me an ungrateful wretch." As soon as they heard about no more gifts, everyone exchanged glances, then changed their tune. "Ethan, that's not what we meant. We are just treating you like our own son. That's why we are talking some sense into you, aren't we?" I couldn't be bothered with their explanations. I simply instructed the bodyguards standing outside the door, "Show them out." The bodyguards, seeing me this angry for the first time, looked somewhat shocked. The group of relatives was reluctantly escorted out. Only Carol and Blake remained motionless, but I had no intention of dealing with them anymore. Just as I turned to go upstairs, Aunt grabbed me. "Ethan, you are just leaving like this. Aren't you going to arrange a room for us?" Only then did I remember that the mother and son had mentioned staying at my house temporarily before they arrived. That was before my rebirth, and I had indeed agreed. I took a deep breath and pointed to the staff quarters near the balcony. "Eliza and Robert are on holiday for the lunar year, so you can sleep there for now. I'll give you 2 days to find a new place and move out." Blake's eyes widened, his face full of disdain. "Such a huge mansion, and you are making us stay in the servants' quarters. Ethan, we are your relatives, not your servants. You are humiliating us." I crossed my arms and looked at him. "So, you are not staying. Perfect, then you can leave." Blake muttered a curse under his breath, then picked up his many suitcases and stormed off towards the staff quarters. A moment later, Sophia brought me a glass of warm water, gently rubbed my shoulder, and softly comforted me, It's fine, honey. It's not a big deal. No need to get so upset. Don't make yourself sick. I nodded, patting the back of her hand, about to tell her that our IVF embryo was ready for transfer at the hospital. Suddenly, Blake walked out with a sullen face and grabbed Sophia's arm. Sophia, why is there no hot water in the bathroom? Sophia gave me an uncomfortable glance, and gently pulled his hand away. Of course there is, try again. Blake wouldn't let up, shaking her arm, completely ignoring my presence. I can handle the cold, but my mom's old. What if she catches a cold? I was so disgusted I felt nauseous. I was about to tell him to leave if he didn't like it, but Sophia stood up instead. Honey, I'll be right back, it'll be quick. Sophia had always been gentle with people and very kind to my relatives. I wasn't overly suspicious, but I felt uneasy, so I quietly followed her. Through the crack in the door, I saw Blake, who had just been wearing a shirt, now bare-chested, revealing several abs. His face was pressed close to Sophia's. I really envy Ethan, he whispered. He dated over a dozen girlfriends, yet he still managed to find a wife like you. You have no idea, Ethan didn't used to look like this. I even advised him to stop getting work done, but he refused to listen. Anger flared in my heart. I was about to push the door open and confront him about slandering me. But then I saw Sophia staring down at Blake's exposed chest, her gaze fixed. While fiddling with the water heater switch, he said meaningfully, Sophia, I'm not slandering Ethan. The girls in our small town all say the same thing. They say he used to like messing around with girls in the town, just like you know. I don't mean anything else, I just want to remind you that sometimes you need to keep a closer eye on him, lest you get cheated on without even realizing it. I couldn't stand it any longer. I burst through the door. Sophia startled, her eyes darting around frantically. Blake also looked at me, with a terrified expression. Ethan, what are you doing? You scared me to death. I didn't bother to waste words with him. I walked straight to the suitcase, grabbed it, and slammed it onto the floor with a loud crash. Its contents scattered everywhere. I pointed at the door and roared, you don't need to shower now. Get out. Aunt heard the commotion and rushed in from outside, her face full of fury. Ethan, what did you say? I'm your aunt. How can you kick me out? Blake, his neck stiff with defiance, argued, Mom, he's gone crazy. He just suddenly. Sophia, seeing this, stammered, ugh, honey, it's too late now. Maybe just let it go. I glared at her intensely, and she instantly fell silent, not daring to speak. I pointed at Blake and said sternly, let it go. He comes into my home and slanders me, and you want me to let it go. Blake's eyes were bloodshot. He tried to step forward and explain, but accidentally hit the hot water switch, and hot water suddenly sprayed all over Sophia. Sophia screamed and lunged into Blake's arms. Blake seized the opportunity to pull her close, continuing to explain, Sophia, what I'm saying is true. If you don't believe me, you can ask anyone in our small town. Honestly, all of this is in the past. I never thought Ethan would still be so bothered by it. Sophia looked at me, then quickly released Blake and stood behind me. Finally, she said coldly, you two should leave. Blake's face was full of disbelief. Sophia, you. Aunt grumbled and cursed as she picked up the scattered items from the floor, pulling Blake up forcefully. Fine, we'll go. When we get back to the town, I'll tell everyone how Ethan treated us. Only after they left did I have a moment of peace. I had thought that by refusing Blake after being reborn into this life, none of the subsequent events would happen again. However, a few days later, while I was at the hospital consulting about the embryo transfer, I ran into Mr. Sullivan, the HR manager from Sophia's company. Mr. Sullivan looked exhausted, complaining into his phone, I'm telling you, our CEO, Sophia, is really unbelievable. I don't know where she found this secretary, he's so incredibly lazy, he even made me pick up his own medical report. I deliberately bumped into him, and the medical report scattered across the floor. I instantly saw the name on it, Blake. I rubbed my eyes, making sure I wasn't mistaken. It was indeed my cousin Blake's name written on it. How could this be? The thought of Sophia's gaze at Blake that night made me feel a knot of discomfort in my stomach. I tried to suppress my surging emotions, quickly tied it up, and drove to Sophia's company. Before we married, Sophia said she wanted to start her own business. Without hesitation, I invested all the money I'd made from stock trading to open this company for her. No matter how she performed, I always had her back. In 5 years of marriage, I had never stepped foot in her company, yet today, it was for something like this. Just as I entered the company entrance, a man in a bespoke suit walked past, and the receptionist's eyes followed him, whispering amongst themselves. That Blake, could he be Sophia's her live-in husband? I think so. The secretary position has been vacant for so long, and then someone suddenly showed up out of nowhere. There must be something fishy going on. I'm so jealous. His looks, wow, no wonder he's the CEO's husband. Although I never knew why people spread rumors that I was a husband who lives with his wife's family, implying dependence. After Sophia and I got married, Sophia was originally from a humble background, and to protect her self-esteem, I always allowed this rumor to persist. For all these years, as long as Sophia was happy, I never bothered to pursue it. I never expected that by saying nothing, everyone would genuinely start to not take me seriously at all. I walked up behind Blake and said in a cold voice, "Cousin, I didn't realize you were so relentless." Blake jerked suddenly at the sound of my voice, losing his balance, and was caught by Sophia, who had just entered the door. Sophia saw me, quickly withdrew her hand, and said softly, "Why are you here? Didn't you say you weren't feeling well, and were going to the hospital today?" I looked directly at Blake and demanded, "Why is he here?" Blake's eyes instantly turned red, and his voice was loud enough for the entire office to hear. "Ethan, Sophia must have her own standards for hiring. Aren't you questioning her by doing this? Or are you just deliberately targeting me? I know you also invested a minor amount in this company, but you can't just criticize Sophia just because you are targeting me." The colleagues, hearing this, all started to sympathize with Blake. So, he's just a minor investor in the company. Could he be in love with Sophia? Does he know Sophia's married? So what if he's rich? Does that give him the right to be a homewrecker? Is he here to demand that Sophia fire secretary? I stared intently at Sophia. She was clearly flustered, and lowered her voice. "Ethan, you never interfered with company matters, did you? If there's something, let's discuss it at home. Don't cause a scene at the company." A scene? I pushed her away in anger, furious. I have nothing to hide. What can't be said here? Blake fell to his knees with a thud, crying out, "Don't make it difficult for Sophia. I'm just a secretary. What could I possibly do? Just spare me." His already ill-fitting shirt became even tighter because of his kneeling posture, as if it would burst at any moment. Sophia's ears instantly turned bright red. She paused, then turned to me, and admonished me in a low voice, "Enough. He lost his job and was kicked out by you. He's already miserable enough. I'm only taking him on as a secretary to do a good deed for you. He's just a secretary. It's not a big deal. Anyone can be hired, right? Do you really need to get so agitated?" I looked at Sophia in disbelief, feeling for the first time that she was so unfamiliar, so disgusting. Anyone could see what Blake's little ploy meant, but not only did she not refuse him, she even played along with him. I pushed Blake away and leaned against the office desk. "Sophia, if you are going to take him in, then don't blame me for being ruthless." Before could react, I walked out expressionless. Sophia thought for a moment, then eventually chased after me. "Honey, I was wrong. I shouldn't have let him come without asking you. I only did it because he's your own cousin, and I felt sorry for him. If you don't like it, I'll fire him." I didn't say anything. I got in the car, locked the doors, and sped away. I immediately called the company's legal department. "I'm withdrawing my investment. If I could elevate Sophia to a wealthy heiress, I could certainly knock her back to being from a humble background. I'd like to see what Sophia amounts to without my money." Immediately after, came a barrage of messages from Sophia. "You are home every day doing nothing. Of course you don't understand my hard work. I just found someone I trust to share the burden, so stop getting all jealous, okay? Don't you know how tired I am dealing with company matters every day? I did this to make you look good, so you could hold your head high in our small town. Reading these messages, my mind was in turmoil. Scenes of me accompanying Sophia when she first started her business flashed through my mind. I had painstakingly found the location for this company back then, downtown, with panoramic views of the city skyline. As long as she liked it, without a second thought, I unconditionally signed the purchase agreement. But now, it had become her leverage to mock me. How ironic. Yet she didn't know I wasn't doing nothing. I was a professional in stock trading, and my assets had already multiplied several times over. If it weren't for me, her dismal company would have gone bankrupt long ago. The car pulled to a stop at the hospital entrance. I couldn't help but shed tears. Today was supposed to be the day I told Sophia we were finally having a baby, but now my thoughts snapped back. I was about to get out of the car when I noticed a man's lighter lying on the passenger side door handle. I froze. I never smoked. This could not possibly be mine. I picked up the lighter and on a whim, opened Blake's social media feed. The latest status update was clearly a selfie of him holding this very lighter, with the caption, "She said only her dearest love deserves this lighter. Love, never extinguished." My breath hitched. With trembling hands, I opened the car's glove compartment. A luxury brand gift bag was right there, and on the receipt, it was Sophia's signature. I felt a surge of anger. How had they done this? They got together in less than a week. I vaguely remembered that in my previous life, when Blake framed and slandered me, Sophia hadn't believed me either. She had said, "Ethan, making mistakes is human nature. As long as you admit your error, I won't blame you. Don't worry, this hasn't spread yet. As long as I say we won't pursue it, no one will know, okay?" Back then, I foolishly thought Sophia had worried herself sick over me. Now that I thought about it, could it be that they had already gotten together in my previous life too? I took a deep breath, screenshotted Blake's social media feed, and took pictures of the lighter and receipt. I sent them to every group chat that included Blake and Sophia, who carelessly left this lighter, which only Blake deserves, in my car. Then, without hesitation, I walked into the hospital. The doctor saw me, his face full of joy. "Mr. Ethan, are you and Mrs. Sophia here to consult about the embryo transfer?" I struggled to control my trembling voice, saying each word deliberately. "I've changed my mind. I don't want this child anymore." After repeated confirmation from the doctor, our embryo transfer surgery was cancelled. Furthermore, at my request, all previous IVF treatment plans, sperm, and eggs were completely deleted, as if we had never been there. Simply because I didn't want the baby to have such an irresponsible mother. Picking up my phone, I discovered Sophia had called me countless times. I expressionlessly blocked her. As for those group chats, they disbanded the ones they could, and quickly left the ones they couldn't, looking utterly miserable. Back home, Sophia rushed forward, her face anxious. "Honey, listen to me. There's absolutely nothing going on between me and my cousin. That lighter was indeed a gift from me, but I gave it for your asterisk's sake. That night, Aunt said she was going to post about you kicking them out in the group chat, and I was so nervous, so I apologized on your behalf, didn't I? Please understand. For my sake." I looked up at her, no longer with a trace of affection in my eyes. "I clearly did nothing wrong, yet you claimed to apologize for my sake. How laughable." I took the divorce papers, which I had just had my lawyer print, from my bag and threw them in front of her. "Sign them." Sophia looked at the divorce papers, her pupils slightly dilated. She stumbled back a few steps, then rushed forward to me again. "Honey, I'm begging you, don't do this. I won't divorce you, I won't sign." Seeing my silence, she frantically ran her fingers through her hair. "You have to give me a reason, right? Why are you suddenly asking for a divorce? Is it just because I hired Blake as my secretary? Or because I gave him a lighter? Honey, we've been married for 5 years. I've given you countless things. How can you divorce me over just one lighter?" Her question sickened me. If I hadn't caught her, and Blake with the evidence, perhaps I would still be soft-hearted, still blame myself. But now I had more than just suspicion. I stared into Sophia's eyes and retorted, "The night I kicked Blake and his mother out, you suddenly said the company had a meeting. Were you really at a meeting?" Sophia hadn't expected me to ask that. Her gaze flickered, clearly guilty. "Why yes, you know, the company often has emergency situations in the middle of the night. It's not the first or second time," I sneered, and cut her off. "Is that so? Then I lines call the shareholders now, and ask what urgent matter required you to go out in the middle of the night." As I made to dial, Sophia's face changed dramatically. She slapped my phone out of my hand. "Are you crazy? What are you doing disturbing people's rest in the middle of the night? You don't understand work matters." In fact, after leaving the hospital, I didn't go straight home. Instead, I called each of the company's shareholders from my car. They all said there had been no emergency meeting that night. Anne's post that night was particularly intriguing. "No matter how far I run, someone always catches up to me." I don't know if Blake was doing it on purpose or if he was genuinely stupid, but he had even tagged his location as being near my hillside estate. So I immediately asked the mansion's housekeeper to send me the surveillance footage from that night. Sure enough, I saw Sophia sneakily taking Blake inside. Sophia realized she had overreacted. She quickly picked up her phone, her voice softening. "I'm sorry, honey. I didn't mean it. I'm just so tired. Please don't be angry. Just let me get some rest, okay?" I picked up the divorce papers, my voice cold. "I'm giving you 3 days to think about it. If you still don't agree after 3 days, we'll see each other in court." With that, I turned and walked into the bedroom, locked the door behind me, and started packing my belongings. This house, Sophia had bought before we got married. She said it was to repay me for opening a company for her, not wanting outsiders to think I was doing all the giving. Back then, Sophia was just a regular medical sales representative with not much savings, so I was deeply touched, truly believing I had met a good girl. Perhaps that's why outsiders thought I was a husband who lives with his wife's family, implying dependence. Only after we married did I learn that she had bought this house by taking out a multi-million-dollar loan just to show off. Yet, despite that, I had willingly paid off her debts for her all these years. In just 5 short years, she had become the company's CEO because of me, and she dared to cheat on me right under my nose. It was absolutely ridiculous. I'd leave the house to her, and the debt would naturally be hers too. I wasn't going to be the sucker anymore. When my things were mostly packed, I threw the wedding rings and wedding photos one by one into the trash can. Seeing me about to leave with my luggage, Sophia panicked even more. "Honey, I just told Blake not to come to work anymore. Please don't leave." I placed the embryo transfer cancellation paperwork on the table. Too late. The next morning, I went to the company and announced the withdrawal of my funds. Only then did my colleagues realize I wasn't just some minor investor, but a major shareholder with half the company's stock, and they gasped in astonishment. "So that's Ethan, the big boss. No wonder he looked so furious when he came to the company last time. He was here to catch the other woman. No wonder Secretary hasn't been to work recently." Sophia's face was pale. She pleaded with me in a low voice. "Honey, it's year-end, and the company still hasn't paid out many employees' year-end bonuses. Can you withdraw the funds later? Anyway, what's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine. There's no need for this." I couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Sophia, even your subordinates know what happened, and you are still playing dumb. Is that really amusing?" Sophia's mouth opened, as if she wanted to speak but stopped herself. I directly played the surveillance footage from outside the mansion. Blake's disgusting voice clearly came from the recording. "Sophia, try me. I'm definitely better than your husband." Sophia was already losing control over herself with him. Before they even entered, she reached into his clothes. "Let's try then." The dialogue and images were revolting, leaving everyone present stunned. I looked at Sophia. "Now, do you have anything to say?" Her face went from pale to ashen. It took her a few minutes to regain her composure, then she stammered. They have nowhere to stay. I was just pitying them, letting them stay for a few days." I smiled, and kept increasing the volume of the video. You still refuse to admit it. Seeing the colleagues' discussions grow louder, Sophia became enraged and humiliated. It's because I'm from a humble background, isn't it? That's why you always look down on me. Whatever I do, it's wrong. He originally asked for a job, and I agreed. Then you suddenly backed out. What was I supposed to do? Where was I supposed to save face? I did so much for my reputation. No. For your reputation. And in the end, you don't appreciate it and even slander me. I think you've already found a new woman and want to kick me out. I trembled all over, raised my hand, and with a loud crack, I slapped her hard. It was such a forceful slap that my palm stuck. My voice trembling, I said each word clearly, "You are truly beyond redemption." No sooner had I spoken than Blake ran in, carrying a lunchbox. He steadied Sophia, then frowned and glared at me. "Ethan, I think you are the one beyond redemption. I saw it myself a few days ago. You were being openly intimate in public with another woman. You are clearly the one who wronged Sophia." At his words, the colleagues erupted in murmurs. I wouldn't have guessed, the boss is quite the player. Both cheated. Then forget it. I was about to retort when Blake continued, "Don't even try to deny it. My mom saw it with her own eyes, and even took a video. I think you should be leaving with nothing." I glanced at the video in his hand and instantly understood. I scoffed, looking at Sophia, and asked, "Sophia, others might not recognize this person, but do you not recognize her?" Sophia then seriously began examining the video. A moment later, her face changed dramatically, and she stammered, This is Serafina, the CEO of Everest." I feigned surprise and covered my mouth. "Oh, did I not tell you? I have a half-sister, and that's her." Although we were half-siblings, we had never publicly disclosed this relationship. We only contacted each other occasionally in our daily lives, and even Sophia didn't know about our relationship. That day, I met with her precisely because she had learned about my situation, and personally introduced me to a private investigator. Blake pointed at me and roared, "You are lying. I'm your own cousin. How come I don't know you have a sister?" I smiled. "When my mom passed away, none of your family even came to visit. Later, my father married a new wife. What's so surprising that you wouldn't know?" Just then, my phone vibrated. I checked it. The private investigator finally had the information I wanted. This private investigator was introduced to me by Serafina, and he certainly lived up to his reputation. I had them investigate every move Sophia and Blake made in the past few days, listing every single detail clearly. I flipped through the photos sent by the private investigator, sneering as I asked the woman in front of me, "You said you pitied him. Pitied him right into bed. Sophia, you are truly a saint." Blake snatched the phone from my hand, his face flushed red, and roared at me, "Ethan, I'm your own cousin. How could you investigate me?" I retorted, unafraid, "I'm your older cousin. You are trying to steal my wife, and you still have the nerve to lecture me." He yelled, his neck stiff, "It's bad enough you won't help me, but you are trying to stop Sophia from helping me too. You are just jealous of me." I casually sent those photos to the hometown group. The elder relatives who had been supporting him fell silent. Only Aunt was still yelling in the group chat, "Why are you sending these? It's a blessing that my Blake caught your wife's eye. You can't even keep your own wife, and you have the nerve to post this. Take it back now, or I'll have Mayor banish you from the town." But she didn't expect that the other villagers not only didn't help her, but sided with me, all criticizing Blake. "Oh dear, he's willing to stoop so low with his own cousin's wife. He's really gone crazy for money. How can Mayor have such a shameless grandson, destroying someone else's family?" It seemed everyone still valued the gifts I sent during holidays and family gatherings more. Sophia pulled me aside and said in a low voice, "I've already apologized. What more do you want from me?" I shook her hand off. "I want you to divorce me." I took out the divorce papers again, and said, "If you don't sign them, these photos won't just be posted in the group chats." Blake came closer and said in a simpering voice, "Just sign it. Without him, you are still Sophia, aren't you?" With that, he picked up my divorce papers, and nodded with satisfaction. At least you have some conscience. You didn't ask for the house, or the company. I looked at Sophia, my lawyer, and I both have a copy of the evidence of your infidelity. If you don't sign now, you'll be leaving with absolutely nothing. Sophia looked at the company, hesitated for a moment, and finally signed. I felt a huge weight lift off me, a sense of relief I had never experienced before. Serafina asked me curiously, "Brother, are you just letting her off the hook like that?" I shook my head. How could I? A few days later, I successfully withdrew my investment from Sophia's company, and secretly informed my media contacts. That very night, news of our divorce appeared online. Normally, a divorce for a small company's owner wouldn't be a big deal, but at the same time, Serafina publicly announced her sibling relationship with me. Everest, which was Serafina's maternal family's company, was a major player in the industry. As a result, companies that had been working with Sophia quickly terminated their partnerships, fearing to offend Everest. Without my investment and those partnerships, employee salaries and year-end bonuses couldn't be paid, and her company quickly collapsed. A few days later, the mansion's butler called me. "Mr. Wern, are you planning to sell the mansion?" I was a bit confused. My parents left that to me. Why would I sell it? The butler then reminded me, "These past few days, a man has been bringing many agents and potential buyers to view the house. I thought you were planning to sell." I immediately took my lawyer and rushed to the mansion. Just as I suspected, when I arrived, I saw Blake enthusiastically showing my mansion to the agents. Seeing me, he showed no panic. Instead, he provocatively asked, "What are you doing here?" I pulled out the property deed and snapped, "Shouldn't I be asking you that question?" He saw the property deed, pointed at me with a look of disbelief, and raised his voice, "Didn't you say you didn't want the house when you divorced? This house belongs to Sophia." I took out my phone, unblocked Sophia's number, and pressed the call button. Almost instantly, the call connected. "Honey, you finally answered my call. Have you forgiven me?" I struggled to suppress my surging anger, my voice icy. "Come to the mansion. I have something to tell you." The agents and potential buyers were all stunned, turning to accuse Blake. "So you are not the owner? But how do you have the keys? You must be a con artist." Yet remained utterly confident, a hint of smugness in his expression. "This belongs to my girlfriend. You'll see when she gets here." Half an hour later, Sophia arrived in a hurry. The moment she walked in, Blake grabbed her hand and said, "Sophia, you are finally here. I just saw your company was having financial difficulties, so I thought I'd help you sell this house." Sophia frantically pulled her hand away from him, then turned to me and explained, "Honey, I truly had no idea he'd do something like this. It really has nothing to do with me." Blake's eyes widened, and he vehemently shook his head. "What are you talking about? Sophia, I was doing this for your own good. Besides, you were divorced." He explicitly said he didn't want the house. Then, he glared at me fiercely. "Get out now, or I'm calling the police." Watching him, I suddenly couldn't help but bend over and burst into laughter, my mirth laced with sarcasm. "I mean, you didn't finish high school, but you can't be illiterate, can you? On those divorce papers, the house I relinquished was the one Sophia bought before our marriage. This one, however, is mine. Don't you just love taking what's mine? Well, you can have it all. Oh, and by the way, Sophia's house still has over $1 million in mortgage debt." Blake abruptly turned to Sophia, but she just stood there, her face grim. The agents, realizing what was happening, threatened to call the police. "You are impersonating the owner. You've wasted our time. You almost scammed us." I looked at the agents and said, "Anyway, I was planning to sell it, so feel free to continue showing it." I considered the home they had defiled too tainted for me. Sophia, however, seemed to think I was helping them. She looked at me with an earnest expression. "Honey, I knew you wouldn't just leave us to suffer. You still care about me, don't you? Don't worry, once we remarry, I'll definitely buy you something even better." "Remarry?" Blake utterly broke down at her words, shrieking, "Sophia, When you were in bed with me, you promised you'd marry me. Sophia shoved him away. Don't talk nonsense. I never had anything with you. You seduced me. Blake's face was a mask of disbelief. Then he let out a deranged laugh. Never had anything. That night at the mansion, wasn't it you who was in bed with me? As he spoke, he suddenly lunged, grabbing my neck like a madman and snarling, "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, Sophia would have married me." I gasped for air, struggling against his grip. Others immediately rushed forward and pulled him away. Sophia, her face filled with anxiety, helped support me, reaching out to check my injuries. "Are you okay?" I shoved her hand away, quickly walked out of the mansion, and had my lawyer call the police. The others, startled, also quickly left. Seeing this, a guilt-ridden Blake quickly pulled Sophia, trying to leave. Sophia, however, refused to go, and the two of them struggled in the middle of the road. Neither noticed the rapidly approaching car. With a loud crash, both of them fell to the ground. I gasped, completely at a loss. What could I do? I knew nothing, understood nothing. It wasn't until the police I had called earlier arrived that they urgently dialed 911. The emergency services were too slow. The accident resulted in Sophia's immediate death, while Blake became a vegetative state. Reportedly, Aunt sold off all their family's land to cover his medical expenses, and Mayor, enraged, banished them from the town. When the dust settled, I chose to travel the world, leaving the past behind entirely.